Olá, sejam bem-vindos a mais um telejornal UERJ Online. Como você já sabe, qualquer dúvida, crítica ou sugestão de pauta é só mandar um e-mail para tv.uerj@hotmail.com. E para começar essa edição, Renata Grota traz informações para a gente sobre o vestibular UERJ 2010.
Olá, Rafaela. E ontem a UERJ divulgou o resultado retificado do seu segundo exame de qualificação. Apenas 3% tiraram conceito A e mais de 20 mil candidatos tiraram conceito E, ou seja, estão desclassificados do vestibular. Os demais podem se inscrever até o dia 9 de outubro no site vestibular.uerj.br. A prova discursiva acontece no dia 6 de dezembro. É com você.
Bom, e na última quarta-feira, Dan Willians, correspondente no Oriente Médio pela agência Reuters, esteve aqui na UERJ. Saiba mais com Amanda Freitas.
Na última quarta-feira, o correspondente internacional Dan Willians ministrou a palestra Jornalismo em Áreas de Conflito aqui na UERJ. Ele contou sobre como é a vida de um correspondente internacional, desmistificou o trabalho e ainda respondeu às perguntas dos alunos. Confira a entrevista.
First of all, what do you think about the experience with Brazilian students?
With Brazilian students, you are the second group of students I've addressed. I found the questions informed, I found them respectful towards the professional journalism, and I found them to be open-minded. This is my first visit to Brazil. It's a fascinating old culture, but also very modern, and there's clearly a strong tradition plus modern liberalism, and I think it's reflected in the questions that I was asked. A curiosity about journalism, a curiosity about the Middle East where I work, and a readiness to hear any answer and to digest it. So I was very happy with the questions. They reflected well in the audience.
Well, almost everybody wants to be an international journalist. They think that it's an easy job, but that's not true. So do you have some advice to them?
You have to start local. Even if you join an international agency like where I work in Reuters, you can begin locally by being a local hire in Reuters in Brazil, working your way up in the bureau, and eventually offering yourself for a position abroad. That's the advantage of being in an international organization. And the same applies for major newspapers or major television stations. The bigger the operation, the better the chance that they have a bureau abroad where you can go eventually. Otherwise, you could also opt to start in a local paper that doesn't have an international operation, but allows you to do a lot because it's small and they will appreciate your energy and they will appreciate your talent. So there's a phrase in English to be a big fish in a small pond. I don't know if you know the Portuguese, but if you're working in a small paper, there may be less exposure abroad, less opportunity to work abroad, but you can definitely show off your talents because you will have more room to work. You can do front page stories, you can write editorials, you can write features, and then at some stage people are going to notice your stories. A lot of the time, much of my job as an international journalist in Israel and Palestine is to find out what the local papers are reporting. And if I see a story by a local reporter that really impresses me, and I happen to meet that reporter and I find out that reporter speaks excellent English and wants to be a foreign correspondent, then I might go back to my boss and say, well, you know, I met this Israeli or I met this Palestinian. They did a great local report. In fact, I ended up doing a story about it because of what they reported and quoting them in my story. And they're amazing and they want to be a foreign correspondent. Why don't we offer them a job? So you can either go the big route and compete but try to get in and climb the ladder in a big corporation, or you can go for a small operation where you can show off your talents.
Changing the subject, here in Brazil some time ago was approved the law that turns unnecessary the graduations to work as a journalist. So all the journalist students get a little disappointed. So do you think that it works?
Okay, I don't know much about the journalistic standards in Brazil. I assume they're like the rest of the free world. I have to tell you, in my opinion, I'm not a strong believer in journalism schools. I think an undergraduate should do a BA in a different subject. Archaeology, political science, military history. Because then you can become a journalist and you already have a wealth of information that you can bring. You can become, if you've done military history, you can be a defense correspondent. If you've done political science, you can be a parliamentary correspondent. Journalism is a craft, it's a trade. It's not really a profession. And everywhere you go will have a different style of working.
Bom, fica por aqui mais uma edição do nosso telejornal UERJ Online. Não esqueça de visitar o nosso blog, que o endereço você já sabe, é blogdatvUERJ.blogspot.com, e também seguir a gente no Twitter, que é @TVUERJOnline. Até uma próxima conexão.